Hi, welcome back to Engine Shop Joe. Hope you had a good week. The people that I help, not necessarily on the channel, but locally, where I go down to their shops or whatever, a lot of times they'll just send me a screen print in a text and go, "Hey, take a look at this. What do you think?" Blah blah, and I'll just tell them, what I think they should do, or I'll tell them I need to come down there and look at it, or I'll tell them do this test and send me the results, or whatever. So in this case, I got a text today, and they said, "Hey, take a look at this, and what do you think I should do?" Now they didn't tell me what fault they were looking at, and I noticed there was two active faults in the list, but I also noticed something a little farther down the list. Now, to qualify this, right now, well, today it's actually about 40 outside, but for the last 2.5 weeks, it's been single digits or the teens. So we're going to take a look at this list of faults that he sent me. And I want you to see if anything stands out. Now, I kind of helped you because I highlighted or put a circle or a rectangle around the fault I'm talking about. But let's take a look and see what I think he should have noticed that went right over his head. And that just has to do with inexperience. And that's one of the things I like about helping. His name's Jake. Is that there's a lot of innocence there, and he thinks, but he's not thinking in levels yet. But that'll come with time. So he does bumper to bumper work on the trucks there, and I help him with the engine problems if I need to, and the rest of the truck he handles, most of the time by himself. So let's take a look and see what he didn't even bring up. And when I mentioned it, he's like, "Oh, should I be paying attention to that?" Yeah, you probably should. So let's take a look. So Jake sent me this screen print today, and it was because 4169 and 3714 at the top were active. And when I called him back, I didn't even talk about those. I was talking about farther down the list where the yellow rectangle is 2963 that has 45 counts. And I said to him, I go, "What's going on with that 2963?" And he said to me, "Well, that's inactive, so I don't worry about it." Now, that was interesting because I said to him, I said, "Jake, that fault only goes active when the coolant is over the maximum temperature that the ECM wants it to be." I said, "Once that engine cools down, that fault will go inactive." I said, "If you had one or two counts, I'd go, no big deal. But these trucks all run city routes, and there's no massive hills. They're box trucks. I think they're like 24-foot box trucks, and they don't haul that heavy of stuff." So I said, "You shouldn't have 45 counts." So he goes, "Well, what should I do?" So I know that I've looked at a couple of these. I know they have viscous fans. I told him, "Go over and spin the fan. If it just keeps spinning all by itself," I said, "spin it with your hand when the engine's off." I said, if it, if it, if you turn it and it stops, it's good. If you spin it and it spins a couple turns, I said, you may have to change the viscous fan hub on it. I said, if that checks out okay, and there's nothing stuck in the front of the radiator like a bunch of weeds or something like that, I said, you're probably going to need to put a coolant thermostat in the engine. So he goes, "Oh, okay." He says, "I never saw that." So he learned now, and that won't happen to him again. But I just wanted to bring that up because when you guys look at faults, especially like units like this where maybe they don't get checked that often, Look through the whole list. And remember that some faults are only active when the problem's happening. Perfect example is coolant over temperature. So it's not always a good practice to go, if the fault's inactive, I don't care, I'm just going to delete it. You need to take a good look. Okay, thanks. See you next time on Engine Shop Joe.